Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Expat Hoops. I'm Tony Budney with Andy Hoverman, your host. Today, we welcome Taylor Murray, who played for Kentucky in college, where she became the only player in program history to end her career with at least 1,350 points, 280 steals, and 450 assists.
Taylor graduated in 2019 from Kentucky and began her first season overseas in Hungary. Then COVID kind of happened. She has since played in Sweden and Great Britain before her last season spent in Romania. We're happy to welcome her to the pod and talk about her career and experiences overseas. Welcome to the pod, Taylor.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys reaching out to me, and thank you.
So we want to kind of go back a little bit to your days at Kentucky, as we alluded to, very successful college career. But at a certain point, you're approaching the end of your college career and wondering what you're going to do next. When did that kind of thought process go to doing this professionally, whether it's going to be domestically or overseas?
I think once you start to get closer to the end of your season, when you probably approach your SEC, your conference tournament, and then going into the NCAA, you kind of like, get jitters of like, what I want to do next. And I know for me, not saying that I didn't have the opportunity to play in the WNBA, but I know I had another option, which was to go overseas. So that was my second option. And I graduated. I had a lot of different resources that had reached out to me, and I ended up signing with an agent, and then we went from there.
With your decision to go pro outside of college, you're kind of alluding to, you had some of the resources. And what was it like at that point in time trying to determine which agent that you would go with? I'm sure that there are probably some of them that were reaching out to you at that moment in time. But what was that kind of looking back on it, what was it like for you? What were some of the things that maybe that you learned that you've been able to apply a little bit later on in your career? Or if somebody that's just starting out is kind of in your shoes, looking to go overseas, any sort of recommendations that you would have going forward in terms of choosing your first agent?
I will say honestly, going head in first of what you want yourself to be able, what you want to get out of it. And at the end of the day, your agent works for you. So yes, they may want to tell you, I feel this and that is best, but laying a boundary of, okay, this is, I would like to play in Europe or Asia, or maybe certain countries. You may not get that country that you need, but he can reserve like other places for the next upcoming season. So I would say honestly, going head first of what you want to get out of it. And just talking first, allow them to do the talking, see what they're capable of doing, how they can get you an opportunity. Obviously, most agents, they have more than one client. So you want to make sure that you are a top priority and that he's able to get the job done for you, as well as he's able to get the job done for overseas players as well. So just making sure that when you first speak, allow them to do the talking, ask a lot of questions as much as possible. And you kind of will have that feeling and know like, okay, this agent will be best for you. And at the end of the day, you can pick them. And then as time goes on, you will be like, okay, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. And the right one will be there for you. You just have to just get a sense and just ask as many questions as possible. But the right one is there for you. The right one is there to do the work that you are capable and need for you to have a prosperous career.
And I know we were talking a little bit at the before the pod. As you said as well, you're not locked into an agent forever, and there's certain contractual obligations. But eventually, you can switch out of an agent. You can find another one if you find someone that's a better fit for you. Overseas is unique. Some previous guests have said that other countries, other agents are better in some countries than others. So if you happen to go to another country or you want to go to another country, sometimes it's beneficial to you to switch agents. Have you had any experiences like that in your career while we're talking about agencies in particular?
I'm not necessarily. My first agent, I will say he was from Serbia, and each agents they have their connections.
Right.
This agent that I previously had, he had different connections that he knew from all else countries. But then my new agent that I'm with, he has a whole nother different background. He knows this and that person. So I guess just getting a fill out. Obviously, it comes with what position you play, what best fits you in that position when it comes to these countries. And it's a whole process. You also want to be in a good top league and a good club that may treat you accordingly right. But I think it's just communicating, being upfront of what you want, and hopefully they can get that job done. But yeah, you may have certain agents that could be in this country that knows every team in that country, but you may have to step out in the branch and maybe reach out to this club that you feel may be best for your players. So it's all like networking and stuff like that, I will say necessarily.
And while we're on the subject, transitioning a little bit away from agencies, but still not totally, your first job in your career was in Hungary. Tell us a little bit how you got that specific on that specific team.
Coming straight out of college, I went through the process. And honestly, you don't know coming right out of college how the process necessarily goes. But that was my first opportunity. And when you think of playing overseas too, you think of like, oh, maybe I could go in France. Maybe I could end up in what's another country, Spain or something like that. But I ended up getting Hungary, and then I had to do my research and stuff like, what is it like to play basketball in Hungary, or what is it like living in Budapest, Hungary. So my agent, he gave me the guidelines, and they had ended up making an offer. And I had went with that because I didn't want to put myself at a high expectation, knowing that I was just coming out of college and stuff. So I went with that, and I would say it was a good first start for me right out of college.
So one of the things that we kind of want to get into is like, was that your first time, outside of the country, and certainly probably the first time living outside the country, and what your kind of expectations were, and what the actual realities were? Like, obviously you went away to college, but that's, same time zone, not really that far away. So what was it like navigating that first season, kind of like off the court, getting acclimated, and also to the professional game, which is now slightly different?
I would say it wasn't my first time playing. First, it wasn't my first time being out in Europe. Most of the time when you're in college, they take like a European trip. And at that time, my senior year, we went to Italy. And they were probably like in the two countries that we went to, we got to play against some like pro teams. So that kind of gets you like, okay, this isn't bad. Maybe you can see yourself doing it. So that was another like, okay, the time zone isn't too bad, because most time zones are 6 hours or 5, depending on, or 7, which I was just in Romania. But I think just the style of play and stuff, but also getting to talk to the players. Necessarily for me, I enjoy just traveling the world necessarily, but also putting 2 in 1, like, wow, I get to travel the world and I get to play basketball, which is something that I love. So it goes hand in hand. Also to touch back, the style, I think each level that you progress into, the style of play changes, now you're more so in FIBA. So stuff that you could get possibly away playing in the States basketball may not be the same like overseas. For example, most people will be like, oh, a traveling per se. A lot of the times overseas they call travel, but to us in the States, you can probably pump fake, drive to the rim, and it's nothing called. So that was something that I had to learn. I think more so just, taking care of your body. You're more so on your own. The stuff that you had in college with all the like system, game rating, stuff like that, just on training or on recovery and stuff, you don't necessarily have that overseas. So I think just having resources or people letting you know, okay, this is best to take overseas. Make sure you do this and that to your body. Because sometimes they didn't even know what ice was. But when you're in the States, there's ice in these facilities that you can do for your bodies and stuff like that. So I think just like learning the advantages and disadvantages of what you need to do on your own necessarily, because you go through 4 years of college and everything is there. You have your recovery, or you can go here, do this and that. But now that you're overseas, it's more so like now you taking the time of how best to recover your body, because now you don't have that person in your ear telling you, all right, this is the time that you're coming in to do recovery. Now you have to set a time that you have to do your own recovery to make sure that you can make it into the season and stuff. Just being important too. Not everywhere you go is going to be like blissfulness and stuff like that, but I think sometimes they're very welcoming and stuff. My experiences, most of the countries I've been to have been very welcoming and stuff, and they're happy to have you there and help them and win and stuff like that, or not necessarily win, but also to like, okay, you're a player that they can learn from you, and then I can learn from them. But I mean, just a matter of you just making sure like the food is different. So I guess you can say nutrition, making sure what you would eat at home in the States. Kind of want to make it similar to playing or eating overseas, but also to learning that like the quantity of food is much more smaller than the quantity of food in the States. So that's something every time like I'm going, like my body has to adjust because you're home, you're used to eating certain foods, and you go there, then like you're like, well, I'm still hungry. So just putting yourself in position of just keeping that regimen of what you would do back in stateside, what you're going to do on your own, because now you're mostly by yourself. You're not with family and stuff. You just FaceTime them. So just staying proactive, disciplined, and stuff like that.
So one of the things is like, this is your first season overseas that we're talking about, and getting acclimated to like some of the things that are going on there. And I think you said it just a moment ago in terms of trying to get to experience the places that you're playing at. So this is also right before COVID breaks out. I mean, it's actually the season where COVID does break out, your first season. What were things like in terms of trying to, what'd you get to see? Like, what was it that you made a priority for?
Well, my main goal always is just to try to I like coffee when I'm overseas, so just try the different coffee shops. Just mingle. I'm not necessarily one like I like to be on a routine. So if I'm in a new country or something like that, or especially going my first time in Hungary, I stuck with what I knew, the different stores that I was capable of going into. I didn't want to put myself so far that I would have had trouble getting back. Um, but it was just like, waking up and you go your first practice, and then you have a rest in between, and you go to your night practice. So I wouldn't say there was much like free time necessarily, but I guess making the time, like maybe if we had a off day or something, me and my teammate will go here and there. But what I will say, like being in Budapest was like a really good first spot for me, and there's so much to see there. So yeah.
We have merch. Head over to the Expat Hoop store where you'll find t-shirts, hoodies, masks, coffee mugs, pint glasses, and more.
It's one of many ways you can show support for the podcast, so head over there and pick up some merch. That link below is in the video description, or you can head over to our website, expathoops.com, and click merch. We offer a couple of different Expat Hoops logos, and we have men's, women's, and kids sizes, so you can get something for everyone.
Thanks to SeatGeek for sponsoring Expat Hoops. We recently became a brand ambassador for them. SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. They offer a 0 to 10 score on each ticket to know if you're getting a good or a bad deal. Green means good, red means bad. You get the idea. It's a really easy way to get tickets to events. Plus, our viewers get $20 off their first ticket purchase with the Expat Hoops code. Click the link in the description to download the app. Remember the code Expat Hoops, EXPATHOOPS, all one word, to save yourself $20 off your first ticket purchase with SeatGeek.
So after your first season in Hungary, you took a year off, and you took a year off because of the well-known COVID-19 pandemic, both the reason that this podcast exists and also the problem with many careers overseas that we have talked about pretty extensively with a lot of different people and a lot of different experiences in a lot of different countries. So you decided to not play overseas the season 2020-2021 and just to stay at home. Walk us a little bit through the reasoning behind that decision, and then we'll get into the season that you played afterward and how that affected that.
So it was always like, should I go? Should I not go? But I think I had listened to my parents at the time, and they felt like it was just safer for me to stay back. There was, at the time, my agent was like, oh, this is available, that I'll reach out, I'll get back to you. And then every time he was like, well, they're also pausing the season because someone may have caused COVID. So it was just a matter of me just staying home, honestly. There's nothing like more strategic. Yeah, we were in COVID, and they just felt like I would be best at home with them safely. And it was already tough enough trying to get back home at the time, so they didn't want to make any put me in a position where I may be stuck or something like that. So I just decided to stay home, and by me staying home, I got to spend a lot more time with my family and stuff. Make the most out of it.
Yes, there have been quite a few instances in this podcast in which people were stuck or almost stuck because it was pretty abrupt when things came to an end and came to a pause in a lot of places. I will say, taking a year off, did you think or feel as you were doing that was going to have any sort of effect either way on how your career was going to progress, and how did you stay in shape during that period of time?
Yeah. There was always like, well, would I be able to play next year? But my agent was stuff. He was just like, just make sure you're working out. Obviously, I have a gym and stuff, so I was able to do that. A basketball court outside, so I was able to do that. So that was very like helpful. That kept my mind at going and stuff. But just staying positive. There was no reason to go into negative. I feel like too, if God wanted me to play that next year, then I'm more than capable of doing that. So just staying patient and just staying ready. And I stayed ready. And when the next opportunity was able to come for me, I was able. And that when Sweden came up, and it took a little bit time because sometimes you may need footage, and I didn't have footage for that season. But thankful the agent that I had and the footage that I did have somewhat in Hungary was helpful for me, and that's how I got my opportunity job in Sweden.
And so you hit the ground running in Sweden for the, hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Norrköping
Yeah,
Dolphins?
Norrköping Dolphins.
Norrköping, okay.
Yeah.
I got to brush up on my Swedish a little bit.
Our apologies to Sweden.
Yes.
It's okay.
As always, our apologies to any nation in which we mispronounce the names of your team. That being said, Sweden, it was your next landing spot, the second of your career after Hungary. Took a year off. What was it like getting back into playing? How did that feel? And what was the play like in Sweden compared to Hungary?
I will say, I think what I missed out most on was like just like the up and down type of basketball, like 5-on-5 or 3-on-3, just stuff like that, just more so cardio. Obviously, it's a different type of conditioning, just running miles and stuff or running on the treadmill. But that basketball conditioning is a much more thing that you need because that's what you're going to be doing most of the time. Um, so that was something that I had missed out on, and they will always most people would say that Hungary is one of the top leagues in Europe basketball. So from to go to there, which Sweden was somewhat not as high as Hungary, was very like different per se, but it was too competitive. So it was just another opportunity that had best fitted for me. The conversation that I had with the coach was very welcoming, and I just felt like sometimes you kind of know when you speak to someone, you be like, okay, this could be a good spot. So that was the next opportunity that came for me, and we hit the ground running. We won the championship there. I got MVP, so I felt like it was a good opportunity for me to, after COVID and stuff, to go to Sweden.
Yeah, absolutely. You had a great amount of success on the court. What was it like for you in Sweden off the court?
Off the court, I had two Americans with me, so that was good. Didn't have to necessarily um, go to like my other teammates if I needed help with something, or I had my other American teams with me, so that was fun too. I know it's different. Each experience that you have is different. Sometimes you want to have Americans or just someone that you can kind of like relate to in an aspect, when you are homesick or something like that. They're both in the same situation that you're in too. I was from Maryland, one was from Ohio, and one was from California. So all different states and stuff, all enjoying what we do, but also trying to come together and get the job done. So it was nice to have them. I also had great teammates with me in Sweden and stuff. Like I said, they were very welcoming, and we all was ready to get the job done. And we knew one thing that we wanted to do was win, and we did that. When you first go overseas, like I said, like you don't know necessarily who's going to be on your team. So it's just like, okay, they feel who is best in that position, but I think just collectively, we all wanted to win for the club because they haven't won in years. So that was also a good feeling too. And also to the predictions is like, oh well, we don't feel like you're going to win because this team has won several years. So to also be that stopper and be like, okay, like we have a good team and we think we can come in and be just as good as the other prospects.
So that's actually kind of an interesting question I have for you. So, like, we talked a little bit, you went 4 years at Kentucky, and, I think that, you can kind of sort of like get in the mentality of like, you're in a lot of these places where like there's certain familiarity, especially as an American. So, like, then when you're going to another place and, like you said, there's like one team that, maybe consistently wins the league and you're on one of the other teams. What's that kind of like to, where there's all this sort of seemingly randomness that kind of comes together? Yeah, there's probably a certain core of locals, but then there's also like, okay, everybody's making some level of imports. What's that like to kind of come together in sort of a, I don't want to say random way, but, to click with other teammates that are just all kind of brought in and you are the ones that reach the top in that one
I
season?
mean, it makes it fun. It makes it competitive, just because you won several years, there's always that next team out there to stop. And at that time too, the team that in Sweden that had won for several years, we lost to them twice in the regular season. So to come and, study film and, figure out what was best. You watch film. So whatever you did wrong in the first, you will improve the second. Whatever you put those two games together, and now you're in the championship run, and the championship was best out of 5. So whatever you did game 1, wasn't going to be the same for game 2 or game 3, but it was also like sticking together cohesively and just putting it all together. That was a game of runs and stuff. And like I said, there's whoever gets to 3 first, that's all that matters. So we were just able to come together, and just continue to work at it, get better each and every day. I think also too what helps is like you're pushing each other, no matter, they feel like we may have a higher edge than them in this and that position or this and that skill set, but just continue to make each other better. And I think when teams are able to do that, then okay, they can put themselves in categories where like, you know what, we can compete at this level as well, So I think that's what's fun. But also too, everyone just sticking to their role, and at the end of the day, it's a team effort. So we, like I said, we all wanted to win, and we were able to accomplish that.
So after that season, you wind up going to London Lions, which is a team that, as we kind of talked off the pod, like on the men's side, it's kind of expected that they're going to make a push for EuroLeague, and so that's on the men's side. But usually, a lot of these clubs, when we've talked to other women that have played for, like for instance, Alba Berlin, I know that has been one that we've heard about how professional towards the women they are and like the resources that are available, but what were things like in London for you as a female athlete on that side?
The London experience is very nice, people will be like, oh, you didn't want to go here. For me, necessarily, when you go to these countries, and most of the time I sign just one contract, because for me, I want to give myself enough opportunities. I want to explore as much as possible. I just don't want to limit myself to one country. And the London thing came up, and that was a huge opportunity for me because one, they were entering their second year of Euro Cup pool. The first time they had, I'm not sure the experience the first time, but me going into, I really wanted to get that experience playing in Euro Cup. So that was one of the reasons too. And they had a winning history, so that was another thing off the back too. But just me living in London, the experience, everything, and it was new, up and coming too, especially for the women and men's side. So they had they were on a win streak and stuff, but for them to put me and consider me for the opportunity, I was very grateful for that. So yeah, it was very nice. There was a lot of resources that they had. I had a good physical therapist and stuff like that, trainer. I think everything in my experience with London was very good. We won all of the 4 championships that season. So, and everyone loves to win too. But I think I got out of a good experience what I had got out of London. And kudos to them for winning the Euro Cup finals this year as well.
In our house, when we use a VPN, we are sure to use NordVPN. NordVPN secures up to 6 devices and is compatible with Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, iOS, and even your Wi-Fi router. Plus, it's no risk to your wallet. Head over to their website for pricing or contact customer support 24/7. And remember, your purchase is always safe with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Click the link in the video description to use our code and make sure you're secure with NordVPN. Last season, you were playing for Arad in Romania. Tell us about your experience in Romania. You've had quite the cornucopia of experiences so far in what has been a fairly short career.
Yeah, the Romania opportunity, they needed a player in my position. I was available at that time. I had switched agents and stuff, so I had to follow my protocol, wait for 30 days, and then at that time, I had got a new agent, and then from then, they needed a player that, like I said, that was available, and I was available. And like I said, I don't want to knock myself down. Every country and experience is different, and I wanted to put myself in that position and stuff, and everywhere you go, they're going to be like, oh, well, we don't know how you guys are going to finish the season. And with this experience too, being in Romania, they didn't expect us to make it to the finals, and we did. We came in second, but I think also too, just like the resilience that the team that I had there, us sticking together, working together, and to prove everyone wrong was like the utmost like respect and stuff that I would have. So I don't take any moments or anything for granted. Every experience that I have will be a builder for the next opportunity and things on like that.
I guess I just had one last question. You spoke of opportunities coming next. What is on the horizon for you? What does this off season look like for you? And is there any plans that you have going forward for what the next year is going to hold for you?
Yeah, the goal is to play next year. I've actually signed to go play in Lithuania for my upcoming season, so I'm excited about that. And this will be another Euro Cup opportunity. Most of the time when I got home around end of April, beginning of May, so I give my time recovery. So I just actually started back touching the basketball, but I've been physically doing my cardio and lifting and stuff like that. So now I'm going to start getting back into the group of everything, but just, making time for my body and making time for my family and stuff like that. Those are the two main things that I like to focus on. And yeah, just being home, you're not home for long. So just getting the most out of it and to have another successful upcoming career. And like I said, for me personally, I like to play in different countries. If the opportunity presents itself where I can play in that same country, it will. But I want to give myself just a lot of opportunities to see the world as much as possible. Like I'm grateful to be able to travel the world at just still early in my career and stuff. So each country you go to, it's about the culture and stuff and learning. But also to like being somewhere, just doing what you still love, but also to in the background, just being grateful for the opportunity. That's all I can say. I'm very blessed to continue to see basketball, and if I have to travel abroad, then that's fine with me.
Thank you, Taylor, for taking us through your career overseas and sharing your experiences with us on and off the court. We have some expat extras we'd like to get into with you in just a moment. Make sure you follow us on YouTube for content you can only find on our channel. In the meantime, care to stick around with us to chat?
Sure.
Hello, and thanks for watching. Be sure to give the video a like, and you can watch more videos over here. You can also click subscribe over here, so you're notified when we have new content here on Expat Hoops.